Let's call back in our panel now. Ford O'Connell, Republican strategist and chairman of the CivicForum PAC, and our newcomer, Stephen Webb, former general counsel for the Democratic Party of Virginia. Stephen Cobb. I'll get that right. Ends in a double B. Forgive me, Stephen. Obviously a lot going on this morning, so 1,000 pardons for that misspeaking there.
No problem at all.
All right. I obviously misspoke. Ford, there was talk yesterday that Speaker Boehner was going to reconcile with the 25 Republicans who had another choice for Speaker. But then 2 members of the Rules Committee were booted before the day was out. We're hearing talk the Speaker may reconsider that. What should the Speaker be doing to try and woo conservative Republicans, or should he just write them off?
Well, I don't think you should write him off. That would be bad because we could be having some tough votes coming down the pipe. But let me say this about the 25 knuckleheads that challenged John Boehner. There was a time and place to challenge John Boehner, and that was right after the November elections. And pulling a failed coup on C-SPAN just to give Stevens folks more fodder to make us look like crazy Republicans was downright shameful. Mick Mulvaney of South Carolina was absolutely right. Now, John Boehner should read his Machiavelli, be a better man, reach out to those 25 and find a way to bring them back. Because at the end of the day, the enemy is not John Boehner, it's Nancy Pelosi, the Democrats, and the Obama White House. And that's who we need to put forth, because the American people put us in there to do one thing: grow the economy and produce jobs.
Well, Ford, it seems that you have reserved for members of your own party even greater disdain than you have for the Democrats, and that's really been the equation.
I totally disagree with you, J.D.
Well,
I am sympathetic to the 25 conservatives that challenged
him
because John Boehner gave up on the Cromney bus.
You just called them knuckleheads.
Never fail a coup, my man. This was dumb, and it was done on live TV.
Dumb to be principled. Okay, fair enough. Let me turn to Stephen Cobb. You got to love this. One thing I'll agree with what Ford said. One thing I'll agree with on Ford on this one, that the Democrats have to love this dissension within the Republican conference. You can address that, Stephen Cobb, if you'd like, but also 188 Democrats, the smallest Democratic contingent, since 1928? What does the Democratic Party do to come back?
The American people are clearly tired of dysfunction in Congress, and that includes the House majority that's been there now these few years. And the 25 members voting against Speaker Boehner is just another symptom of this continued dysfunction within the Republican caucus. As you've seen, there's been a lot of talk about how these new Republican majorities will work with the White House. I think the larger question, as Ford started to hint on, is how the Republicans are going to work amongst themselves. If they're having this much trouble electing their own leader, as I believe the New York Times pointed out, these are the most dissenting votes to re-elect a speaker in history, or at least in the last 50, 60 years.
Since 1923.
Thanks, Ford. Since 1923, you wonder how any sort of legislation is going to get put through in the House when the majority can't even agree amongst themselves on their own leadership.
Well, personalities aside, Ford, it looks like a solid piece of legislation is lined up, the Keystone XL pipeline. I'll give 20 seconds to you, Ford, and then 20 seconds to Stephen. Will it pass? The president says he's going to veto it. Will that veto be overridden in bipartisan fashion?
The veto can be overridden. It should pass. 70% of the American people want it. The key is to work with the Democrats on the amendments to make sure it's veto-proof, because at the end of the day, the Obama administration's going left, and the Republicans need to put the American people first.
Stephen Cobb, do you think it's veto-proof? 10 seconds, sir.
Yeah, I think that remains to be seen. I think this has been a kind of a continued red herring. It's made up to be a jobs issue when every report that's come out has not shown that there's going to be any serious amount of sustainable jobs coming from this project.
We'll have to have you back, Stephen Cobb, to talk about it. Our thanks to you and to Ford O'Connell. Stay with us.